Sohira, Zameto Totomada Katan Tontomantea, Shakara, Helaba, Mania. When heaven released to us the first language, because there are different languages of the Spirit. Don't even think that praying in tongues is the first language. The tongue you pray, the prayer tongue of the Spirit is never for your ascension. It is never for the fullness of the Spirit. They are only for the development of your faith and edification of your spirit. By the time faith is developed and you have come to the unity of the faith, then you have to move from the dimensions of faith to the dimension of the knowledge of the Son of God. And by the time you've moved from the dimension of the Son of God, you go on unto a perfect man. And by the time you've moved from the realm of a perfect man, then you go on unto the measure, the full measure of the statue of Christ. And that's in that dimension you are caught up into the fullness of God. That's when you stop praying in tongues. You start groaning, which of course is the final access to all the dimensions of the Spirit's language. In that groaning, you enter into the depths of the ancient scripts of the Spirit. Then you realize that words can unlock the heavens. When a man can come out in the next 31 hour, he just say these are sounds, but they carry in depths, languages of the Spirit, unlocking realms, breaking dimensions, depleting affliction, diseases, confusion, and the clouds of darkness over nations. You don't know why I tear. You don't know why I cry. You don't know why I'm done with church. I'm done. We are going to build ecclesia, not church. We are done with congregation. It's time. We are going to reclaim the atmosphere. Jesus, therefore, again groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. He wasn't praying in tongues. He wasn't singing praises and worship. He was groaning on his way to the grave. And he was groaning in himself. What's the language of groaning? Don't you know that groaning is a language? It's an ancient language. It's an ancient language of the Spirit that has access to all the dimensions of the miraculous. The groaning is the master key that unlocks the glory of God. You groan to unlock the glory. But now here's the question is, what is groaning? Because before Jesus raised the dead, he entered into a dimension in himself. Now when you get into that realm, you begin to tap into some energies, some frequencies in the realms that you begin to author things that cannot be heard. That cannot be heard. The fire, the vibrations, the frequencies of that groaning is unlocking the dimensions of the spirit to raise the dead, to call back a dead man that had died for how many days? 4 days. It's not a joke. Do you know that that man that has died, buried for the past 1 year, can be raised? Jesus groaned in himself. Because these are ancient scripts, leashing atmospheres, the word of the dead are linking with the physical dimension, a portal to bring the dead back to the body is being created. Jesus was interacting with dimensions to transport back the spirit of the dead into his physical body. There has to be an interconnection between the spirit world back into the body. This is called a miracle. Because something is happening now. This guy has checked out of the earth, and the end of your existence in this planet is death. So a certain door has been closed. The ancient gates that separate man from his body has been closed. So Jesus had to ascend into that dimension, interacting with the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers of 2 dimensions. And he was interacting just like he interacted with Moses, discussing some things we didn't know he was discussing with. Why did Jesus meet with the custodian of the law? Why did he meet with the custodian of the prophet? Oh, come on. He had the interaction with Elijah, discussing some matters. And when he was interacting with the dimensions, groaning with the language, he wasn't focusing on the dead body. He wasn't focusing on the crying of the people. He wasn't focusing on how many days he's been buried. He was focusing on accessing the dream, interacting with the ancient gatekeepers between the land of the living and the land of the dead, opening the portal, creating the passage for the dead spirit of Lazarus to travel. By the time he was done, so what happened? So where did you lay him? Because the portal he has opened, he's already traveling. And then he said, Father, thank you, because thou have heard me. Some of them must say, some preachers say that what the Father heard was the sickness is not unto death. He wasn't speaking to the Father. When Jesus said, Father, thank you for you have heard me, it wasn't the statement, this sickness is not unto death. No. Because when that report came to him, he replied those who brought the report. But the moment he said, Father, thank you for you have heard me, was when he entered the dimension of groaning. He ascended into the dimension of the Father's bosom. There he interacted with the Father. He unlocked the realms of the Spirit. Jesus, therefore, again groaning in himself, coming to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. And Jesus said, Take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh. Sense knowledge, human intellectual knowledge came in. Jesus said unto her, said I not unto thee that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes. There was a groaning that no man heard but the Father. A transaction in the realms that no one understood but the Father. I thank you, Father. Let's go on. Because thou have heard me. Let's go. And I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it. I say it in the I said this because they need to understand. For the three. And when he had thus spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come. Lazarus, come forth. At what point was Lazarus restored back to his body? The point of the groaning. But Lazarus, comfort wasn't when he raised him from the dead. Now, Jesus used a language that no one understood to do the transaction for the restoration of the spirit of the dead back to his body during his groaning. Let's read loud and clear. Likewise, the Spirit also helps our infirmities. For we know not what we should pray for as we ought to. But the Spirit of God, but the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. Now lift your hands up. Lahida prato shahina manda elabota pakina mato shahida alamiato frahando shahida haprendo mahidoja alavido shaprogadoja. Aya! Release that strange tongue. It will take you into the realms of groaning. The Spirit habit of our infirmity. The infirmities are our inability to pray the scripts of the Spirit. The infirmity is not disease. The infirmity is not sickness. The infirmity is the impediment of humans not being able to come into alignment with the mysteries, with the will, with the dimensions of God's preordinations that unlocks the glory of God for this earthly dimension. Heaviala, 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 Mahila, Elia.